Welcome to Handi Quilter Live. Today, Denise and I are live in the studio. So I'm Kim, and this is
Denise Dowdrick.
As I just said, we're both studio educators here at Handi Quilter, and today we are excited. We've got a lot of really fun things to talk about. So first of all, we're going to let everybody know which design Denise picked, and she's actually going to do some quilting for us live. So lucky Denise today.
I know, I'm super excited.
Then we are going to spend a little bit of time talking about the Seeing Stars Quilt-Along, do a quick check-in. We're going to show you where we are in the process, and then we'll talk about what's coming up this next month. And then at the end, we actually got a couple of fun things to share with you guys that have to do with the crowns. That's all I'm going to say.
I know.
The crowns. We're both princesses today. So Denise, you've got your awesome black and white quilt here.
I do.
And last month, Christina and I put out there for all of you to pick which designs, and what was the winner?
The winner, actually, I was surprised. It was choice A,
Yay.
which I was very excited about because I get to do some free motion and some ruler work with this
Very
one.
cool.
So I thought, I'll show you how I accomplished that. I'm just going to show a little bit of it today, and I will go ahead and finish quilting this so I can show it completed the next time we go live, so everybody gets a chance to actually see the finished quilt too. But we'll just show a little bit today, get me going, and I'm super excited because I love wishbones, I love ruler work.
I know.
And so I've already got the Surefoot on the machine, and that way, just pre-planning for the ruler work I'm going to do. I'm actually using my curved crosshatch ruler today. Isn't that awesome? I love this ruler.
You do.
So, and because we're quilting on the Amara ST, no ruler base.
Nice.
So I know, so nice. But if I was quilting on a frame mounted machine, of course I would want to put that ruler base on too. So I'd actually have a surface to do some quilting. So should we just jump right in?
Yeah. So you're going to start with that curved crosshatch.
I am.
And I feel like this is one of those designs that people tend to think is super complicated, but it's really isn't, right?
No, it's not. It's not complicated at all. And right now, actually, I'm going to just even take an extra little cheat here because I'm going to quilt off the edge.
Okay.
This is a partial block, but when I do quilt these blocks, I'm going to come in and quilt across the entire block. I've got light gray thread loaded, which is going to show nicely on the black and the gray fabric. So I'm going to be doing the crosshatch across. So, and you'll all get to see that next month when we pop in and show the finished quilt. So
awesome.
I'm just going to go ahead and just do half of it this time though. So the first thing, I am going to go ahead and bring up my bobbin thread. It's always nice to start with that at the top.
Good start, so you don't end up with that nest on the back.
Yes, and I did check my bobbin tension before I even started, and checked my upper tension, did a little test. And now I'm just going to go ahead and pop in. I'm going to line up my ruler, and I'm just using the piecing here as a guide with my ruler, and I'm lining up to that etched line. First etched line there on my ruler.
Nice.
So of course with rulers, we have these wonderful markings on there, but you want to make sure the etched side is against the fabric.
Right.
And that way it keeps those markings nice and accurate. Okay, let's jump in and start playing. And I'm going nice and slow. If I start shifting, then I'm going to just stop, adjust my ruler, because I don't want to shift past the ruler.
Right.
And then I'm just going to travel in the ditch a little bit right here. I'm not even going to use my ruler for that. I'm going to just kind of eyeball where the foot's hitting. Now I want to do a 1 or a ½ inch gap there, not a 1/4 inch. So I'm looking at where my needle's stopping, and I am actually going to use that spot as a guide for my next little stop because I'm just going to come along half. So I'm just eyeballing it. And again, lining up to those markings.
So you're laying the etched line on top of what you just stitched.
Right on top of what I stitched.
Which gives you the 1/4 inch on the ruler and then the 1/4 inch from the edge of the foot to your needle.
That's
so
right.
It's that ½ inch offset.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I know. Isn't that fun? And I'm going to just travel off the side of the quilt here a little bit and do it again. Just kind of lining up there.
Very nice.
And I love that there's so many markings on this ruler because I can choose how far apart I want this etching to, or the stitching to be, just by lining up to that etched line. You can even use this side of the ruler to help you travel if you want.
In that ditch right
Yep,
there.
that's just gonna
Very
help.
nice.
But it just really helps keep things nice lined up. You'll notice too that the ruler I chose to use today has a similar profile to the block. So it just really kind of helps keep things in that same flavor.
And that's a good reason to have a nice selection of rulers in your quilter's toolbox, because finding that angle that's going to work with the design, sometimes it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, sometimes a little tricky. So nice variety.
So you're just laying these lines down all the way across. And, you know, I think the curved part is what people tend to be a little overwhelmed by. But because you're using a curved ruler, the curve is built right in.
That is exactly it. And I'm just hugging the ruler right up to the foot. I actually have grip on the back of that ruler, which is actually helping me guide the fabric too. And I've made sure here on my stationary machine, I've got extra batting and backing. So I've got my sensors covered. Remember?
Oh yeah.
I'm using stitch regulation right now. So I want those sensors covered. Okay. Now I'm going to start quilting the other direction. So I'm going to come down probably about right there.
This is where that curve in curved crosshatch really starts popping out.
It's so much fun. This is the cool part. And again, just stop and adjust as you need to. And again, I'm just going to kind of travel in that ditch there. Line up on that etched line on the ruler again. And again, I'm just traveling off the edge of the quilt. When I do the other blocks, I'll have to travel along travel along the seam instead of off the edge of the quilt here.
Very nice. I don't know why, but when I see curved crosshatch like this, especially in a piece block like this, it always makes me think of like a cathedral window.
A cathedral, it does. It really does.
I think that arch, it kind of reminds me of that. It looks so cool though. I love curved crosshatch.
And the nice thing about rulers too is you can move them wherever you need to move them. If you're more comfortable with them behind the needle or to the side or in front, makes things nice to just be able to manipulate that however you want.
Right. Well, and one thing that's really nice doing this on the stationary machine is you can actually turn the fabric so that you're stitching in the direction, so that it's a little easier for you to use that ruler. When you're quilting on a frame mounted machine, sometimes that ruler might end up in
sometimes not as easy. Okay, and I'm just coming up and I'm doing the last little one here.
Oh, that looks so good.
Isn't that fun?
Oh, I love that.
Easy.
I love that. Those perfect little diamonds.
I know, and rulers just make it so easy.
Yeah.
It looks like I worked so hard, and clearly you've all seen I didn't work very hard at all. So let's switch gears. I'm actually going to use the ruler to go ahead and travel back here.
Okay.
And I want to quilt. Which one should I quilt next? This one or this one? How about we do this one?
Yeah, you can do that.
It doesn't matter which way. I am going to go ahead and just travel along the ditch to come back here.
You want to start up in the center?
I want to start there. So, and I could just cut my thread and bring it up, but also, I mean, I can just travel in the ditch too.
Isn't that the goal though, to not have to cut your thread during quilting?
So, okay, so I'm right where I want to be.
Okay.
And now I want to do a little bit of echo. If we look back at our previous design here.
What you had drawn out.
Yes, I had a little echo around the block. So I want to do that first. And since I have my ruler out, I'm going to use my ruler to help.
Perfect.
Just going to line up right there. Bring in, I think I like the inside curve a little better there.
It seems to match the piecing.
I think it does too. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this little echo. Now I'm coming up to the edge of the quilt. So I don't want to actually stop right there. I want to think about where my binding is going to go.
Right.
So I'm going to leave, myself room there for the binding and then a little bit for an echo still. I'm going to stop right about there. And, I didn't bring a straight ruler today. So guess what? I'm just going to wing it. I think we all
Denise,
tend to do a lot of that in quilting.
I know,
so.
she's going to quilt a straight line.
Okay, let's see. Let's call it a straight-ish line.
Oh, I like straight-ish.
I'm going to call
that
it
works for me.
straight-ish. And then I'm just going to head back this way. And again, I just left a little bit bigger gap there because I know my binding is going to come along there.
Right.
Okay. So now I'm going to do the echo on the other side.
I love doing the echo like this. It really makes the design inside of it pop when you create that little channel.
It sure does.
It looks really good.
Okay, so now I can set my ruler aside and I'm going to fill that up with some wishbone.
Ooh, wishbone.
I'm going to turn my quilt because why not? Because I can.
You can.
I'm on the stationary machine. I'm also going to increase my cruise speed because I want my needle moving up and down a little more.
Okay.
When I'm doing free motion, I feel like that's a little smoother. I do use cruise mode with rulers sometimes, and I just keep the cruise speed really low for that, which is what I've done this time. So I'm going to bump that up. Okay.
So you're in regulated cruise.
I'm in regulated cruise. And so you're going to see the needle's going to move a lot faster now this time, but that's how I want it because I want to do some nice smooth free motion stitching here.
Nice.
And I'm just going to fill in a little wishbone. My goal is to stay inside of that echo, but I already goofed. I forgive myself.
Once is a mistake, twice is a design choice.
That's very, very true.
Isn't that what we like to say? I think it looks great, Denise.
Oh, and it's so fun.
And I love wishbone. It's just such a fun design.
It's so versatile. Sorry, I just have to say wee. So
now you sound like Christina. Got to have some sound effects while you're quilting.
You'll notice though, even with my fabric rotated, I still have my stitch regulators, my sensors covered.
Yep. That's why it's important to always have that extra, at least backing, if not some batting too. It's nice to have the batting just because I think it gives you a little more grip there.
I agree. Now here I am just going to go ahead and cut the thread off here.
Let me show everybody what you did.
And I'm going to clip that off. And now you can see how quickly that quilts. Isn't that fun?
It is. That looks so good, Denise.
And I chose the gray thread because I knew it would show on both the white and the black. So now I just have, a whole bunch more to do. But we'll show that. We'll show that next time. We have so many other things that I want to talk about today and show everybody that I just thought, we'll just do a little bit, give everybody a taste of it.
I love it.
And the thing is, even though we voted and we chose A, I could mix it up if I wanted to too. And I could do our A design on some, the B design on others. And because B came in at a really close second place. But, and if you wanted to see those choices again, you could go back and review our live from last month where we had those design choices. But, you can always draw something out and choose what you want to do, but it's okay to change your mind. Have fun with it. Quilts are meant to be fun, they're meant to be loved, and at my house they're meant to be used. So I just wanted a nice kind of open, soft design. This will probably be just a little table topper in my house. So I think it's really fun.
Very nice.
Cute.
We're excited to see this one get finished.
I know. Me too.
It's so much fun. All right. So our next item of business is the Quilt-Along, which we have our finished quilt here in the background. That we've been showing off. Thank you, Jen Eskridge, for finishing that one for us so quickly. And so this past month was piecing the blocks. So Denise, you've got your blocks here.
I know. Aren't they gorgeous?
Oh, they are. They're so gorgeous.
I love the colors.
I love your fabric, and I love how you did yours just a little bit different than mine. So where Denise has that fun print, I used a solid, and where you used the solids, I used prints.
That's right, because I already had this really fun print in my stash, fell in love with it, and that's where I pulled the color inspiration. And what I think is funny is when I look at the pattern, when you print off the pattern, the colors really do match. my color scheme. It was kind of an accident.
Yeah.
I just really loved this fabric that I had in my stash. So I did have a moment of panic, and I did order another 2/3 of a yard. I got really lucky. It came up just a little bit short. So,
You're
you
able
know,
to find it.
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that would be my tip this week. Measure your fabric before you start and make sure you have enough. I didn't have enough of any of the pink solids, so I mixed them up. So I have a wide range of pink solids in there, but I think it just adds texture, adds beauty, and adds some movement to what would otherwise just be kind of some solid blank areas. So,
Yep.
I'm excited to see how I'll quilt this. I don't know how I'm quilting it yet.
Yeah. And so before we get ready to quilt that, so this next month, if following the schedule we have, you need to take all these blocks you've pieced and put them together to make a quilt top, and then put together your quilt backing. So as we have finished this, I should say, as I have finished mine, I actually even quilted mine for film last week. A few tips for everybody while you're putting these pieces together, the quilted blocks. My number one tip is take the time to pin. I don't, depending on how you decided to piece your half square triangles, you might have some biased edges along there. And I know for me, I took the time to pin, so everything was nice and flat as we go together. What about you, Denise?
That's right. I really agree. I like that you stay stitched along the edge. I haven't done that yet, but I have a lot of bias. So before I load this to quilt, I will be stay stitching around the entire quilt.
Yes.
My other tip would be pressing. Press really carefully, because there is some bulk in some areas.
Yes.
So right here in the center, I got everything as flat as I could, and I really pressed it down. And I used some steam when I did that too. So, you know, I don't like volcanoes in my quilts. So I pressed to get that as flat as I could. And that way, whenever I decide how I'm going to stitch it, I'm not worried about dealing with bulk, because I know I've done everything I can to reduce it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fabric that comes there
Sure
together
is.
together in the center.
Okay, no
so
volcanoes, just smash that down.
Yeah, so be sure, you know, take the time, piece them, trim them up before you start piecing together too. That's always a good idea. And like Denise mentioned, once you got your quilt top together, there's a lot of small pieces in this quilt. So do that final stay stitching around the edge that when you load it and you put a little tension on that quilt top, your seams won't open up. I see that way too often, especially when I quilt for other people and they don't stitch around the edges. I quilt it and the seams start opening up.
They start opening up. Well, I mean, let's face it. There's about, I don't know, approximately 8 jillion half square triangles in this project. Close, give or take.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing those, I'm chain piecing. So I'm not back stitching. I'm not locking those all in. So I want to make sure stay stitching along the edge is just going to help hold these seams together a little bit and keep that bias edge from stretching as I load and quilt it. So
exactly.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. So that's some good tips on putting together your quilt top. Now let's talk about the backing. Now, my quilt is smaller. Mine's, it's roughly 54 inches square. So I just took some leftover kind of larger pieces of fabric that I had and sewed them together to create a backing. Now, in order to be able to load that and have it work really well, I did my very best to make sure that my seams were all horizontal to the pole that I'm going to wrap them up on. So that would be my tip. If you have a lot of vertical seams, you'll get bulk buildup as you start rolling it onto the poles. And you might have some issues with keeping everything nice and flat. And heaven forbid you end up with a pleat in the back of your quilt. You don't want any of that.
No fun.
So I absolutely use some scraps. When we do the quilt reveal, I will show you guys the backing so that you can see what we've already done. Now, Denise has a little bit of a different plan for her backing.
I do. So what I chose to do with the backing on mine is not piece it at all. I bought a wide back.
Nice.
This is a very large quilt. So I bought, I think 3 yards of 108 and I have pre-washed it. I'm anticipating this being pieced and done very soon. So I pre-washed my backing and I've got it ready to go. But even when you're dealing with a large wide back too, though, it is important to know that you may get some extra fullness in there as you load it. And you do want to try to pull that back on grain. So I know on my large frame mounted machine, I actually added a second hand wheel. And I've seen Kim do this too.
Yeah.
You load that backing on and then you roll it all the way up on the one pole. You unlock your ratchet stops and you roll it back the other way. And it just makes a nice flat surface to quilt on. And sometimes you even have to roll it back 2 or 3 times, but it makes it so nice and smooth and just really flattens it out for quilting.
Absolutely. And I think a really great tip you gave there is pre-washing wide back. Wide back fabric tends to have a lot more starch in it so that it can be wrangled onto a bolt because it has more than just that one fold.
Wrangling's a good word. It was wrinkled and wrangled onto that bolt for sure.
It was wrinkled and wrangled. I love that. So if you pre-wash your backing, especially your wide back, it removes a lot of that because the extra starch in there can actually cause some issues with maybe your thread shredding or breaking because it just makes the fabric a little more abrasive. So it's something to consider. And I know too, like there's always the big, you know, should I pre-wash my fabric? Should I not pre-wash my fabric? I will freely admit I do not pre-wash anything except wide backs. And I've never had a problem with the quilts shrinking more like really weirdly after I've pre-washed the backing and not the top. So I haven't had any problems with that. Have you?
I haven't noticed that either. And I will say, sometimes I pre-wash and sometimes I don't. It just usually depends on how anxious am I to cut the fabric out. If I can wait until I pre-wash, then I might. If I just cannot wait and I've got to dive right in, then I don't pre-wash. So I'm a rule breaker. What can I say? I'm not sure what the rule is there, but I'm breaking it one of those times, you know, either by pre-washing or not. But I think I get good results when I'm done, whether I've pre-washed the top or not, and I have pre-washed the backing. So, you know, just I think experiment and see what you like best, because there's a lot of different thoughts on that. The way you do it, the way you like doing it, that's the best way.
I totally agree with you on that one. So that's what we've got going on with our Seeing Stars Quilt-Along. Once again, the hashtag for that is Handi Quilter, QAL. And it has been so much fun, especially this last couple of weeks. We've started noticing a lot of you posting about it. I know the one thing that I keep seeing is I'm seeing some really fun color combinations out there. And I look at it and go, oh man, I wish I would have done that.
I would have done that. I know. I've seen, I think 3 other colorways already that, okay, I might just have to make it again.
I know. It's so much fun to see what you are. So don't forget that hashtag Handi Quilter QAL. We would love to see what you're doing with the Quilt-Along. And let's see, the end of May, we'll be talking about our quilting plans. And then in June, we're actually going to do an episode on each of our quilts. So you guys can know to watch for this. Walking through our quilting plan, what we decided to do, the thread, the batting, all of those kind of things. So something to look forward to. So last item of business, we mentioned the crowns. So Denise, tell us about the crowns.
Okay, so the crowns are actually something that I am pulling into our Academy plans this year. You may have all heard about Handi Quilter Academy might be coming up. Very, very soon. I think
in June.
I think, you know, like, are we 6 weeks out now?
Yeah.
We are so close, and I'm so excited. So we're starting to pull together those final details, and I am working with my good friend Sandy, and we are teaching on the free motion, the next step track, and we're doing Audrey Hepburn style. So
love it.
I have little tiaras for everybody in our track because we're going to be channeling our Breakfast at Tiffany's Audrey Hepburn, and you know, you have to have a tiara for that, right? So we just thought we'd give a little sneak peek, but I know each one of our tracks has a unique theme and fun things that are going along with it. And I know many of you are planning on coming because I've seen the signups, and I'm so excited to see you all there.
But the reason why we're mentioning this is we do actually still have a few spots available. So if you are interested at all in coming to Academy this year, just go to handiquilter.com and then click on Learn and choose Handi Quilter Academy. And we do have a few spots available. So we'd love to have you come and join us. It's the biggest party of the year. It's June 13th through the 16th here in Salt Lake City. It's really great. You have an opportunity to come and meet people from all around the world. We have quilters coming from all over to learn and have a lot of fun. Our theme this year is Cinema Academy. So Academy, having some fun with that, with the cinema, movie themed. We're going to do lots of fun things. So we hope that you'll check that out and join us.
Yes, because we're rolling out the red carpet. I've heard we're going to have some stars there, maybe.
We are.
We're pretty excited. But we have so many things. We're going to have the best time. I'm so excited.
We are. We hope you'll come join us. So unless if we have any questions, we'll look at our thing. Okay, we've got a couple questions over here. So
what is the pattern called on this block?
Okay, we want to know what the pattern is on the block. Are we talking about the block that Denise was quilting earlier? Okay, so Denise, what is your pattern called?
It is a flowering snowball quilt. I quilt block. I did use an AccuQuilt die for it. So
I think that's
I'm not 100% sure, but I could come back with more details. For sure next month, I'll have that information ready.
And you can always pop into the comments after the fact.
Yep.
And we'll let you know. So, okay, question number 1 answered. What's question number 2?
I noticed your design block paper has a sheet of plastic over it. What is that, and where do I find it?
Oh, we forgot to talk about preview paper. I can't believe we did that.
Okay, let me
so what Denise is using,
here.
this is called preview paper. It's the coolest stuff ever.
It sure is. So preview paper is something that you can find at handiquilter.com or find it at Handi Quilter retailer near you. Preview paper comes in a big roll, so it's just all rolled up like a big paper towel. And you'll notice we've got these black lines that come pre-printed, and you lay it right over your quilt and you can draw on it. Now I can draw with a dry erase marker and then wipe it off if I don't like it. This time I actually drew it on with a permanent marker because I didn't want it to wipe off in between pulling out my designs and trying to audition things. But keep in mind, add another black line up here or a strip of painter's tape because you don't want to accidentally draw off on your quilt. You want to keep the drawing on the plastic.
Yep. So that's preview paper. We love it. It's so great for planning your designs on your quilt. I love to use it because I can audition multiple designs without having to unpick any of them if I don't like it.
That's right. This is much faster than
ripping
picking
stitches.
out a quilt. Oh, that is no fun at all.
No fun
so
at all.
This is just a great way to get your design down and give you an idea. I actually did it in different colors too because I have different colors of fabric on my quilt. So I wanted to be able to see the design, how it looked on the different colors of fabric when I auditioned it. So use whatever color markers you want and just have the opportunity to see what your stitching is going to look like before you put it on your quilt.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. So unless if we have any other questions, we're just looking over here. Nope, we're good to go. All right, well, we just want to say thanks for joining us. Be sure to tag any quilts that you post with #HandiQuilter for a chance for your quilt to be in one of our upcoming Watch and Learn videos. And be sure to give us a like and subscribe and have fun quilting.